The ink on the contract was still wet when Emma Thompson slammed her fist on her father's mahogany desk, scattering papers across the polished surface. "You can't do this to me," Emma's voice cracked as tears threatened to spill. At 23, her life plan had never included being traded like a commodity to save her family's crumbling business empire. Her father, Robert Thompson, couldn't meet her eyes. "Emma, please try to understand. Hartwick Industries will absorb everything we've built in 3 days unless we secure this merger. And my marriage to their CEO is the only option?" Emma's voice dripped with sarcasm. Nathan Reed made it clear. "The only way to save 5,000 jobs is through this arrangement." Robert's shoulders slumped under the weight of his decision. Emma pressed her palms against her temples. She'd graduated top of her class in business administration just last month, preserving her values and focusing on her education, while her peers were exploring relationships. Now, her inexperience, her choice to wait, had somehow made her father think this was acceptable. "It's the 21st century, Dad. People don't arrange marriages anymore." Robert looked up finally, desperation etched across his weathered face. 3 odd days, Emma. That's all we have before everything collapses." The charity gala that evening was Emma's personal nightmare come to life. Whispers followed her through the glittering ballroom as she clutched her champagne-free sparkling water, the engagement ring on her finger feeling like a shackle. "There she is, the virgin bride," someone whispered, not quietly enough. Emma froze, mortification washing over her. How had such private information become gossip fodder? Her cheeks burned as she turned to escape, only to collide with a solid wall of expensive cologne and tailored suit. "Careful," said a voice like polished granite. Emma looked up and up into the coldest blue eyes she'd ever seen. Nathan Reed stood before her, his expression unreadable as he steadied her with strong hands. "Mr. Reed," she managed, stepping back quickly. "Ms. Thompson. Or should I say, the future Mrs. Reed." His lips curled into something not quite a smile. "Since we're being forced to share a future, perhaps we should introduce ourselves properly." The room seemed to quiet around them as Nathan extended his hand. At 35, he was the definition of power in human form. Tall, imposing, with dark hair threaded with distinguished silver at the temples that belied his reputation as a business shark. "I know who you are," Emma replied, ignoring his outstretched hand. "The man who gave my father an ultimatum that involved selling his daughter." Something flickered in Nathan's eyes. "Business is business, Ms. Thompson. Nothing personal." "Nothing personal?" Emma laughed, the sound brittle. "You're literally making me your wife. It doesn't get more personal than that." "A technicality," he replied coolly. "This arrangement benefits us both. Your family keeps their company, their employees keep their jobs, and you get trapped in a loveless marriage with a stranger. Financial security and social status many would envy," he finished, unfazed by her interruption. Emma leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Let me make something clear, Mr. Reed. This may be a business transaction to you, but it's my life. And I'm not some naive child who will simply bow to your demands." "I never assumed you were naive," he replied. And for a moment, something like respect flashed across his features. "Just practical." Their standoff was interrupted by the announcement of dinner. Nathan offered his arm with mechanical precision, his expression making it clear refusal wasn't an option, not with hundreds of eyes watching their every move. Emma accepted his arm, her spine straight as steel. "Don't mistake this for acceptance," she whispered through a forced smile as cameras flashed. "Don't mistake my proposal for desire," he countered smoothly. "We each have something the other needs. That's all this is." As they walked toward the dining room, Emma caught a glimpse of her father's relieved expression and felt her heart sink. 3 days until she would exchange vows with a man whose heart was rumored to be as cold as his business decisions were ruthless. Little did either, of them know that their carefully constructed arrangement was about to unravel in ways neither could predict. The morning of Emma's wedding dawned bright and clear, mocking her stormy mood. She sat motionless as her mother's stylist arranged her hair into an elegant updo, pinning delicate pearl hairpins that had belonged to her grandmother. "You look beautiful," her mother whispered, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Beautiful and miserable," Emma corrected, studying her reflection. Despite her situation, she couldn't deny the wedding dress was stunning, a sleek, modern design that hugged her curves before flaring into a modest train. Nathan's assistant had sent it over with a terse note. "Mr. Reed prefers understated elegance." "He prefers," Emma had muttered, nearly tearing the note to shreds. But now, wearing the dress, she couldn't deny his taste was impeccable, if controlling. Her mother squeezed her shoulder. "Sometimes love comes after marriage, Emma. Your father and I—" "We're college sweethearts who eloped against Grandpa's wishes?" Emma interrupted. "That's hardly the same as a corporate merger with vows." Before her mother could respond, Emma's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "The prenup has been amended per your requests. My lawyer will bring it before the ceremony. N.R." Emma blinked in surprise. She had indeed sent over several amendments, including maintaining control of her own career path and charitable foundation. She'd expected them to be ignored. Maybe there was a sliver of humanity beneath Nathan Reed's icy exterior after all. Nathan straightened his bow tie for the third time, frowning at his reflection. He hadn't expected to feel anything on this wedding day beyond mild irritation at the time away from work. Yet here he was, uncharacteristically restless. A knock at the door preceded his best man and CFO, James Wilson, entering with 2 tumblers of whiskey. "Dutch courage?" James offered. Nathan shook his head. "I prefer clarity today." James shrugged, downing both glasses himself. "So, last chance to back out. Are you sure about this arrangement?" "The Thompson merger is necessary," Nathan replied automatically. "I meant marrying a woman you've met exactly twice," James clarified. "There are other ways to secure the patents." Nathan turned from the mirror. This was the cleanest solution. Clean for the business, maybe. Messy for your life. James studied his friend. "I've known you 15 years, Nate. You've never let anyone close since Vanessa." "Don't," Nathan warned, his voice dropping dangerously. James raised his hands in surrender. "All I'm saying is that Emma Thompson isn't just a signature on a contract. She's a person you'll be coming home to." "It's temporary," Nathan insisted. 2 years as agreed, then an amicable divorce with everyone's interests intact. "Unless you fall in love," James teased. Nathan's laugh was sharp. "That's not in my programming anymore." "Keep telling yourself that," James replied. "I've seen how you look at her when you think no one's watching." Before Nathan could respond, his phone buzzed with an alert. "Bride has arrived. Ceremony in 15 minutes." The wedding was a spectacle of wealth and influence, with 400 guests filling the Botanical Gardens glass atrium. Emma walked down the aisle alone, her one act of rebellion against tradition, in her father's place. Nathan watched her approach, his expression carefully neutral. But for a fleeting moment when their eyes met, Emma caught something unexpected in his gaze, a flash of genuine appreciation, perhaps even admiration, quickly masked. Their vows were standard and businesslike. No promises of eternal love or devotion, just partnership, respect, and fidelity for the duration of their agreement. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Nathan's kiss was brief and formal, barely brushing her lips. Yet Emma felt an unexpected jolt of electricity at the contact. The reception was a blur of congratulations from people Emma mostly didn't know. She played her part perfectly, smiling, thanking, accepting good wishes with grace. Only Nathan seemed to notice the strain behind her smile, occasionally steering her away from particularly pushy guests or signaling a waiter to refresh her water. "You're surprisingly good at this," Emma murmured during their first dance, a carefully choreographed waltz they'd practiced once by video call. At dancing, Nathan raised an eyebrow. At pretending we're not complete strangers legally bound to share a life. The corner of his mouth quirked up. Years of corporate mergers. The principle is the same. Is that what I am to you? A corporate merger? Emma challenged. Something shifted in Nathan's expression. No, he said after a pause. You're considerably more unpredictable. Emma wasn't sure if that was a compliment. As the dance ended, Nathan was immediately pulled away by business associates, leaving Emma alone at their table. She watched him work the room, noting how differently he carried himself among his peers, confident, commanding, occasionally even charming in a calculated way. She was so absorbed in her observation that she didn't notice James sliding into the chair beside her until he spoke. He's not always like this, you know. Emma startled. Like what? Cold. James nodded toward Nathan. The man you married wasn't born a machine. Life made him that way. Emma's curiosity piqued. What happened? James studied her face, seeming to weigh something. Not my story to tell, but I will say this. Nathan keeps his promises, even when it hurts him. Whatever arrangement you two have, he'll honor it. Before Emma could press further, Nathan returned, giving James a look that immediately sent him retreating. Ready to leave? Nathan asked, offering his hand. Emma took it, suddenly acutely aware that leaving meant beginning their life together. Husband and wife in name, strangers in reality. As they exited amid a shower of flower petals, Nathan leaned close to her ear. For what it's worth, he said quietly, you make a beautiful bride, Emma Reed. It was the first time he'd used her first name, and despite herself, Emma felt a treacherous warmth spread through her chest. Their luxury car whisked them away to Nathan's penthouse. They're home now. As the city lights blurred past the window, Emma wondered if James was right. Was there more to Nathan Reed than the cold businessman she'd agreed to marry? And more unsettlingly, did she want their Toby? 2 months into their marriage, Emma and Nathan had settled into a carefully choreographed routine. Their penthouse was spacious enough that they could go days barely crossing paths, with Emma focusing on revitalizing her family's company, while Nathan maintained his grueling work schedule. Their arrangement was civilized, professional, and utterly devoid of the intimacy normal marriages shared. Nathan had respected Emma's boundaries without question, giving her a separate bedroom suite and never pressing for anything beyond public appearances as a united front, which was exactly what Emma had wanted. So why did she find herself increasingly distracted by thoughts of her husband? Why did she notice the subtle scent of his cologne lingering in rooms he'd left? Why did she find herself cataloging his rare smiles, appearing most often during their occasional shared dinners when business talk gave way to unexpected debates about literature or philosophy? This particular morning, Emma sat at the breakfast bar reviewing quarterly reports when Nathan emerged from his home office, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. "You're still home," he observed, surprise evident in his voice. "No meetings today?" "Video conference canceled," Emma replied, trying not to stare at how his usually perfect hair fell across his forehead. "You look tired." Nathan ran a hand through his hair, making it worse. "International crisis with our Singapore branch. Been up since 3 a.m. Without thinking, Emma poured him coffee from the French press, sliding it across the counter. Their fingers brushed as he accepted the mug, sending an unexpected tingle up her arm. "Thank you," he said, the simple gratitude seeming foreign on his lips. An awkward silence stretched between them before they both spoke simultaneously. "I was thinking, perhaps we should—" They stopped, and something remarkable happened. Nathan Reed, feared CEO and notorious Ice King, actually laughed. A genuine laugh that crinkled the corners of his eyes and transformed his entire face. "You first," he offered, leaning against the counter with uncharacteristic casualness. Emma shook her head, momentarily dazed by this new version of her husband. I was just going to say perhaps we should try having dinner together more often, since we're essentially business partners in this marriage. Nathan's expression shifted, subtly. Business partners. Right. Before Emma could decipher his reaction, Nathan's phone erupted with notifications. His expression hardened as he scanned the screen. I have to go, he said, professional mask firmly back in place. Crisis escalating. As he hurried toward the door, Emma called after him. What were you going to say? Before? Nathan paused, his back to her. Nothing important. Just business. The door closed behind him, leaving Emma with the distinct feeling that she'd missed something significant. That evening, Emma discovered what the Singapore crisis entailed when James called her in a panic. Have you seen the news? He demanded without preamble. Emma hadn't. Nathan had apparently used their family company's revolutionary sustainable manufacturing process to rescue a failing medical device company in Singapore, saving thousands of jobs, but tanking Reed Enterprises' stock in the process. The board is calling for his head, James explained. They're saying he prioritized your family's technology over shareholder value. Emma felt cold dread pool in her stomach. He's risking his company for mine? Not just the company, James said grimly. Emma, there's a clause in his contract. If stock drops below a certain threshold, he loses controlling interest. He knew that when he made the decision. The implications hit Emma like a physical blow. Nathan wasn't just honoring their business arrangement. He was sacrificing his own interests to protect hers. Without another word, Emma hung up and rushed to Reed Enterprises headquarters. The board meeting was in full crisis mode when Emma burst through the doors. 12 heads swiveled toward her, with Nathan rising slowly from his seat at the head of the table, his expression unreadable. Mrs. Reed, one board member said coldly, this is a private meeting. About my husband's decision to save thousands of jobs using my family's technology. Emma challenged, approaching the table. Then I believe I have relevant input. She placed her tablet on the table and swiped open a document. These are the projected 5-year returns on integrating Thompson sustainable manufacturing processes with Reed medical technology. The initial stock dip is temporary. As the board members leaned forward to examine her numbers, Emma continued, more importantly, this proves what I suspected from day one. My husband isn't just a brilliant businessman, he's a visionary who understands that profit without purpose is ultimately unsustainable. She turned to face Nathan directly, seeing surprise and something warmer in his eyes. Some might call that soft. I call it the future of business. For the next hour, Emma presented a comprehensive plan that would not only recover their stock price, but position Reed Enterprises as an industry leader in sustainable medical technology. By the time she finished, most of the board was nodding in cautious agreement. We'll need to review these projections, the chairman said, but Mrs. Reed makes a compelling case. As the meeting adjourned, Nathan remained seated, watching, Emma with an expression she couldn't decipher. When the last board member filed out, he finally spoke. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did, Emma replied simply. Partners protect each other. Is that what we are? Nathan asked quietly. Partners? Emma approached him slowly. What did you want to tell me this morning, Nathan? Before you left? Nathan stood, closing the distance between them. That maybe this arrangement has become more than I anticipated. More businesslike, Emma prompted, heart racing. Less, he admitted, reaching out to brush a strand of hair from her face. Considerably less. His touch was gentle, questioning rather than demanding. Emma realized, with sudden clarity, that this powerful man was afraid, not of business risks or board revolts, but of rejection, of her. I didn't expect this either, she whispered. to actually start caring for my corporate captor. Nathan winced. Is that how you still see me? Instead of answering, Emma rose on tiptoes and pressed her lips to his. Unlike their wedding kiss, this one was real. Tentative at first, then blossoming with all the emotions they'd been suppressing. When they finally broke apart, Nathan rested, his forehead against hers. I should warn you, he murmured. I'm not good at this. Feelings, vulnerability. And I have zero experience with relationships, Emma countered with a smile. But I'm willing to learn if you are. Nathan's smile, a full, unreserved one this time, was her answer. 1 year later, Emma adjusted her graduation cap as she prepared to deliver the commencement address for her MBA class. From the stage, she could see Nathan in the front row, pride evident in his expression. The past year had transformed them both. Their business arrangement had evolved into a true partnership, both professionally and personally. Thompson Reed Enterprises had become a leader in sustainable technology, with Emma and Nathan working side by side to build something neither could have created alone. More importantly, they had discovered that love wasn't something to be arranged or contracted. It was something that grew in the space between two people brave enough to be vulnerable. As Emma began her speech about unexpected journeys and finding strength in surrender, her eyes locked with Nathan's. His wink was subtle, but the promise in it was clear. Their story was just beginning. Later that evening, as they walked along, the beach near their new home, a modest beachfront property far from the penthouse towers of their early marriage, Nathan pulled her close. Do you ever regret it? He asked. Being forced to marry me? Emma leaned into his embrace, watching the sunset paint the horizon in brilliant hues. I wasn't forced to love you, she replied softly. That was the choice that made all the difference. As for Emma's father, Robert Thompson now headed the charitable foundation they'd established together, finding purpose in giving back rather than building empires. And James, well, James took great pleasure in reminding Nathan at every opportunity that he'd predicted this outcome from the start. Some arrangements, it seemed, were destined to fail in exactly the right ways.